All right, everyone, let's just take a moment to move into prayer. Taking that sacred breath, we feel the presence and the vibration and the energy of source, of spirit, of that divine intelligence that knows all things. We feel the energy and the vibration of that move so powerfully through our beings and surrounding this community. Although we are not in the same room, I am knowing that that energy surrounds all of us, no matter where we are on this planet, that it holds us and unites us, and it opens our hearts. I'm knowing that presence and that life and that love moves powerfully through Reverend Barb today as she delivers a message that I know is perfect for each of us. That it moves through us in such a way that enlivens us and delivers to us exactly what we need to support this earthly walk, to support our spiritual journey. And I'm knowing that the music is uplifting, the music is healing. I'm knowing that every person who speaks and every person who is here today that is a part of this service, I am knowing that their energy goes out and blesses each one of us. And I'm knowing that our hearts are connected to all beings across this planet. No matter how they are honoring the divine, no matter how they are celebrating, no matter how they are living their lives, I am knowing that our hearts go out and connect to each one of them. For we are all one. We are all one human family. And so with gratitude in our hearts for this knowing, we take another breath and we feel that gratitude moving through our being. So grateful to be together today. So grateful to be reminded of the truth of who we are and the truth of the divine essence that lives and moves through each of us. And so with that, we let this go. We hand it over to Spirit that always says yes. Without pause, without prejudice, it says yes. And together we simply say, and so it is. Amen.
Morning, guys. I've got a quick, brief announcement to make before I launch into one of my favorite Bob Dylan songs. The rest of the music team and I are putting together a virtual choir project. We're gonna on the song "Love Train." I'm sure y'all know it. People all over the world join hands. So we're going to air that on June 27th, on the service on June 27th, 2 weeks from today. And I'm inviting all the members of the congregation to participate. If you want to sing, that'd be fantastic. If you just want to send in like a video of you doing something fun, we'll include it. Holding up a sign that says love is love or whatever you want to do. So if you would like to participate, if you'd like to join me in the music team in that, you can send me an email at jeedsmusic@gmail.com. There it is. And yeah, that's all I had to say about that. I think it's going to be a really fun time. I'll make sure that email address is in the newsletter as well, and you can also find it on the NTNC website. So, without further ado. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that it's soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times that they are a-changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times that they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times that they are a-changing. Oh, the first one now will later be last, for the times that they are a-changing.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful work. The times, they are a-changin'. Yes, they are. Actually, what a perfect song for today. So let's do what we do that doesn't change every week, because there are a few touchstones that we have felt are important for us to keep. And one is that we do this thing where we connect our hearts and our minds by touching our heart, taking 3 really big, deep breaths, and saying with each other, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Well, that puts me in a totally different place every time I do it with you, and I hope that it does you as well. So, you know, it's interesting. I mention this now and again. Over a year ago, the topics for our week were visioned and chosen and planned. We're working ahead these days, and the topic was about leaning into our, in the thing it says leaning into our discomfort, and a lot of the notes were about leaning into your pain, and nobody had any idea what the last 15 months was going to look like. And I thought, well, there's been a lot of discomfort in that. And I have to say, the part of my discomfort that came up about talking about this discomfort was that I wanted to get all lectury about it. And then on the other side of it, I wanted to ignore it completely and fluff it over with rainbows and unicorns talk for the day. And so hopefully I landed somewhere in the middle of all that. You know, we've done a really darn good job of moving through the year in many ways. You know, some of you walked every day and took pictures. Some of you worked the whole way through while doing homeschool with your kids and are looking for a little stress relief. Some of you worked out more. Some of us added the COVID-19. As a group, we've had some illness and some loss and some hardship and some breakthroughs and some big life changes. We've done overall pretty good. And yet, there's this interesting grief kind of running through the ethers of the universe. There is, I think, it's hard to lose this many people on the planet and not have an energetic pull to grief for all of us, even those of us who haven't directly experienced grief. We have to remember that we are part of an energetic whole system in the world, and that what we put into that now is part of what will change it over this next time. You know, There's hope now for great change and greater equality. There's also a heaviness for some of us that comes from the deep learning that we've done last year about the inequality, not only in the United States, particularly, and in our systems, and a sense of not really knowing how to fix it. There's also a learning, again, of how to be together in person. As we had this barbecue at our house last week, and at the end of it, I was like, 3 hours with everybody. I was tired. I'm not used to that anymore. It's that learning how to wear real clothes to a meeting, and how to have conversations that don't start with "you're muted." And there's this very big understanding that everything has changed. We're not going back to anything. We're designed as human beings to move forward and upward. We are designed for expansion in our hearts, in our minds, in our understanding. And very, very few of us love being in the gap. And that's, I think, in so many ways right now, the things that are happening in the world, and the things that are happening at home, and the things that are happening in our spiritual communities, all around all of it, we're all living in this gap of the unknown. And there's a lot yet to be known. And even though we know, because this is what we do and learn and teach and be in our lives, we know that what is coming is even greater and wider and more beautiful than what has been before. Most of us do not love the gap. And many of us in this time have been confronted in huge ways by questions of what we really want our life to look like moving forward. And for many, uncertainty as to how to get to that life we want to keep, or what we've learned that we want to keep, the life that we are creating, that we love, from this place of discontent, unknowing, uncertainty, and what used to be, because all we know is what was, and that wasn't working for many of us. And now we have an idea maybe of where we want to go, and here's the in-between. It's such an interesting time. It's a beautiful, interesting time. I've been in meetings recently with some ministers from other New Thought denominations, New Thought and other, mostly Unity and the Unitarian, and a couple of folks from the Unitarian Universalist, talking about trauma and trauma responses to the pandemic. And I find that to be an interesting word that I have a hard time applying. That's a whole other talk for some other day. But anyway, this conversation has been so enlightening and moving. And I was part of this conversation is a woman named Reverend Cynthia Vermillion Foster, who's in my other job at Centers for Spiritual Living, my counterpart at Unity. She has like the same portfolio of work. And the other day she made this comment, and I was like, wait, you know what? We need to just sit with for a second, and I'm going to use it. She said, this is a time to be deeply mindful of the stewardship of the spaces between us. Be mindful of the stewardship of the spaces between us. And I thought that was so beautiful. Stewardship is such a great word for this, because it means that that each and every one of us is fully responsible for what is happening between us as human beings. So there's all this stuff floating around, and I thought, what a beautiful, beautiful place we are in, which is probably not what you expected me to say about it. The thing is, discomfort, discontent, and divine discomfort always bring about innovation and creativity and expansion. They just do, because most of us, we don't want to buy a condo in the land of discomfort. So our creative energy, our natural creative energy, will get all fired up to help us move out of that place. It is much better to be a renter and break the lease in the land of discomfort than it is to buy a homestead there. And so we move out, we're moving up, and we're living in the what's next. Unless we don't. You know, what I've noticed is that some of us have allowed and let our early and deeply held pain lead us around for our entire lives. Do you know what I mean here? I know none of you do this because, well, you've been practicing and studying, and we've been in this community together for a long time, and we lean into what's uncomfortable. But you know someone probably, maybe you know somebody in a mirror someplace, who wraps themselves up in a blanket of their childhood pain or of their early mistakes, refusing to forgive themselves or others, and in doing so, bringing that pain to every interaction in their life. Which very sadly, although they think they're in this blanket of pain that is only about themselves, it sadly ends up inflicting the same pain on everyone around them. And it doesn't have to be that way. You know, if there was ever a time to release what does not serve us, to let go of the things that don't bring us life, to stop punishing ourselves and others, it is so right now. You know, we can live. And here, the basic thing, basic thing, we can live from our spiritual magnificence or from our unhealed past. And sometimes we'll lean back into our unhealed past, but over time, as we actually are willing to lean into what needs to be healed and do the work of leaning in and doing the work of healing, we start to notice it ahead of time so we don't have to fall. We don't have to take out a new lease in that condo. We can actually just go, oh, I'm here visiting for a moment and I've decided I don't want to stay here. I'm going to go back to living from this other place, which is where I am free to live the life I love. It's free. So I was trying to find a good way to illustrate this, you know, some story. And I looked out at our garden. Actually, you know, we had some garden beds built in our landscaping plan last year. And this year, we planted some stuff, you know, some lettuce and some tomatoes and some stuff, which honestly is a little like watching a little bit daily miracle of things growing every day. I know those of you that garden and farm know this already, but it's just beautiful to watch. But here's the thing. First, we had to weed because we filled those beds with dirt like in the fall last year and then let them sit. And these giant, prickly, thistly things, and some, I don't know what, but it took every ounce of strength I had to pull them out of the ground things. It was like tree weeds took root in this garden. And mostly they were like poking your hands and pulling. And, you know, I swear they had roots going 12 inches deep. It does not take long. It's so interesting. It does not take long for things that are not healthy to grow big ass roots, does it? Both in our dirt and around our hearts. And there is no way to plant a flower or a vegetable or love without first digging in there and pulling out the crud and pulling out the things that are prickly and poking the people around us so that it keeps them away from us. There is no way around it because without that, there just simply isn't enough room. And the wicked part is that the longer we ignore it, the larger it grows. The weeds, for some reason, they don't die off. I don't know, the weeds, they get a few inches high and they don't, I wish that they would get a couple inches high and stop growing. They don't do that. They will grow through every crack and crevice. They will turn into giant trees of agony when we ignore them. And then they take over the whole garden. At some point, it's like a poison where nothing else can thrive and everything else around you is choked out. I'm still talking about weeds, right? Maybe not. The hard thing is that when we're so full of pain, not only do we make ourselves miserable, we lose our ability to be with others who are in any kind of hurt because it's too hard to be around someone else's tears and someone else's hurt when we can't acknowledge our own, or when it pushes that button of wanting. Because, you know, I think those things, they want to come out. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Now, how do I know this? This is a place where I get to where I get to actually talk from some experience in my own life, and then from years of watching other people, but also really from my own life, because I was this person. I was this person into my late 30s, hard as a rock, never gonna cry, work hard, ignore the rest. I locked up some crazy, abusive, abandoned childhood garbage like you would not believe, until I was in practitioner training. Because I have to say, our classes will open you up. And when I was in practitioner training, everything blew apart. You know how I often say, when you tell the universe you want to be more loving, you rarely get kittens to help you practice. I didn't get kittens. I told life I wanted to help people, that I wanted to walk a more spiritual path and a more awakened path, that I wanted to come awake. I wanted to be a more clear spiritual channel. I did not get kittens. I got a breaking open that is way too long and complicated for this moment on a Sunday morning. But suffice it to say, I cried for like a year. And luckily, I had amazing people around me who didn't run out of patience, because I was surrounded by the people in my spiritual community. It was a center for spiritual living in Long Beach, California. And I was surrounded by those people, and they just let me continue to have what I needed to have, which was love and support and kindness. And a couple of people who were definitely willing to call me out on my crap when I wanted to go back into the shell. I had thousands of moments where I'd be crying. I thought about the situation that had just recently happened, situation A. And that little voice in the back of your head, I would know in my bones that it was so really about all these other things that I had never grieved or explored or let come into the light. Prior to that time, I could not stay in a room with someone who was crying. I would do everything I could to make them laugh, shut it down, get out of the room. And now, I got to say, my office, when I had one in a building, was by many people known as the crying place. And part of that is just being willing and able to be with people. But I also recognize that prior to that, I made every decision in my life through the lens of protecting myself from experiencing that pain that I needed to have. I made every relationship decision, every dating decision, every co-worker decision, every job, everything. I made every decision in my life at some level through the lens of that pain. And when we live in our pain, instead of working through it, we never make decisions towards the life of our dreams. We make decisions through the life of a safe little shell. It is so remarkably freeing to pull those weeds and get room for planting the life that you want and love. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens, and awakens to their spiritual magnificence, and therefore awakens the world. That energetic system that I was talking about earlier awakens the world to its spiritual magnificence. Let us be people who awaken. Let us be people who are awakening more and more and more. And I know some of you have done some of this work. And I also know that I was very called to speak this morning, even though I didn't completely want to. So somebody out there is hearing something. It seems like also that in this collective grief, in this collective, energy, this energetic system that we live in, and then these learning that we're doing about equality and equity and what really matters, I think we have some collective weeding going on, And I want to say really briefly, this coming week will be the anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. And I thought I knew what that was about. And I got to say, I would really encourage you to read about it. I asked the team to post a link to a really great history overview article. There's books referenced if you want to read a book about it, but this article is amazing. So all that's out there. But what's in here that brings you discomfort? And is it time to open to the possibility of healing in your life? We are here to grow. Healthy things grow, you know? That's the thing. Healthy things grow. And we are here to lean into our own spiritual magnificence. And I want to ask you, who are you when you remember that you are spiritual magnificence made into human form? Have you asked yourself that question lately? Who are you when you remember that you are spiritual magnificence made into human form? You know, in one of the most beautiful books ever to teach compassion, called Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed, she wrote this answer to someone's question. And the question doesn't even matter because the answer is so universal. She wrote, "Nobody will protect you from your suffering. You can't cry it away or eat it away or starve it away or drink it away or smoke it away or walk it away or punch it away or even therapy it away. It's just there and you have to survive it. You have to endure it. You have to live through it and love it and move on and be better for it and run as far as you can in the direction of your best and happiest dreams across the bridge that was built by your own desire to heal." There is a bridge. You get to be better for it and run as far as you can in the direction of your best and happiest dreams across the bridge that was built by your own desire to heal. Oh my gosh, beloveds, awaken to your own spiritual magnificence today. It is the time. There's no going back to what was before. This is a whole new day in more ways than ever before. It's always a whole new day, really. But in more ways than ever before, it is a whole new day and a whole new time. Awaken to your desire to heal and grow and be free. Awaken to your ability to love and therefore to be loved. More than ever, lean into your discomfort, heal, and come fiercely alive. That's all I want to end with today. You know, be fiercely alive. And remember always that the force is with you. It is absolutely everything in this universe. That whole energetic system is conspiring for your well-being and your good and your expansion. It is all of it, the entire universe conspiring within you for your good, your expansion, your spiritual awakening, and the revelation in the world of your spiritual magnificence. Be fiercely alive. Who wants affirmative prayer today? Raise your hand with me in order to just open yourself energetically to the acceptance of these words for each and every one of us this day. This day, I know absolutely that as I live and breathe, I am connected profoundly with something larger than myself, that there is this field of energy. Call it the force, call it God, call it spirit, call it what you will, but here it is, directed right now at the center of our beings. And as we take a deep breath and we know, and as we take another deep breath and we know, we can feel that connection within us to not only that, but each other across time and space. I can see and feel every one of you in this moment. And so I know in this day, there is an awakening in each of us, in our spiritual community, in our spiritual communities of Centers for Spiritual Living, across the expanse of this beautiful globe we call home. That there is an awakening and an alivening and a fierce call to live in deeper compassion and kindness, and it manifests itself right here and right now. That there is a healing that is profoundly moving through each and every one of us at the depth of our being. And so while we're in that, I hold this space of compassion and comfort for the growing edges, for the life that moves through each of us. We hold as a community this beautiful heart tribe called New Thought Northern Colorado. We hold as a community a space of healing and support and kindness and connection to each and every one of us. That we show up for one another in deeper, more profound ways than we ever have before. We let that guide us. How can I love? How can I take ownership and stewardship of the spaces between us with love and kindness and compassion, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion? And so we wrap the arms of love around those who are hurting. We wrap the arms of love around our community members who are dealing with illness or loss or grief. We wrap the arms of love around ourselves as we move through and awaken in a deeper and deeper way. We wrap the arms of love around this entire planet as it heals and grows. And I give thanks today. I give thanks for this teaching, for the communities of Centers for Spiritual Living, the one that held me years ago and the one that holds me now, and the one that holds each of us as we care for one another. I give thanks for the beauty of the garden and all of it. Oh my gosh, the world is magnificent. I give thanks for you, each and every one of you who is listening to the sound of my voice, watching this video, connecting in this place of expansion and growth, knowing that every one of us is creating the world that works. I give thanks for it all. And I ask you to join me in all of it by saying out loud in the room you're in, and so it is.